And at that time, Parikshit Maharaj is saying that who said I'm not drinking? I'm drinking with these 2 ears, the nectar flowing from your mouth. Please continue. Please describe elaborately Krishna Leela. When the Krishna Leela began, 4 days were done, only 3 days remaining. And in that, Parikshit Maharaj is saying, Vistarat, describe elaborately. I'm not fasting, I'm feasting. I'm feasting. I've experienced, I don't know how many of you have experienced. One thing I've noticed in myself when I'm doing Shravanam, if I'm very attentive, say I'm hearing a Prabhupada class for 15 minutes, and I'm very attentive, making notes, contemplating on it. At the end of my Shravanam, I feel very nourished, very satisfying, very satisfied. How many of you have experienced this? With strong attentive hearing, just for few minutes also. Oh, good numbers. This shows that attentive hearing has a wonderful prowess, wonderful power. Another point which Prabhupada mentions, who can actually attentively, with rapt attention hear? Prabhupada writes this in the purport to 1344 Bhagavad. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna. He makes it very clear. And then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. And now Prabhupada writes a wonderful punchline. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. So he says, if you're not, only that person, or I should put it in the same way, who cannot hear with rapt attention? One whose mind is not pure. Whose mind is not pure? Whose actions are not pure. And now Prabhupada mentions, no one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. So now Prabhupada is saying, these are the 4 natural instincts. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithun. And Prabhupada is saying, anyone who is pure in these 4 actions, they can be pure at mind and they can be attentive in a Bhagavatam class. Therefore, I love Prabhupada's purports. Look at the analysis that he is giving. If he just says one should hear with rapt attention, we'll wonder, how should I hear? I'm not able to. He's giving us the root cause why I'm not able to hear attentively. When these 4 natural instinct of ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithun is not proper, is not pure, then we'll not be able to hear attentively. Our mind will not be pure. When it comes to ahara, except eating anything and everything, कुछ भी ठेले पे, और even while having prasad, एकदम ऐसे भारी आने वाला है, उतना खा लिया, yes, इधर तक. And if someone peeps in your mouth, they can see prasad. बस उल्टी करना बात बचा है. Even that is not good. No, that's not recommended in Shastra. Overeating will lead to oversleeping and will not be able to do much. Yes. Ahara. Nidra, you cannot sleep extensively, n number of hours the way you want. No. It is prescribed by the Acharya. He says minimum 6 hours at one place, another place he says 7 hours is okay. And 7 hours is okay. Any person, doesn't matter even if he is the Vamshaj of Kumbhakaran, 7 hours is enough. Is enough. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, fear. So when a person is fearful of various changing material situations, he cannot be pure at mind. Because fear itself is a contamination at the level of mind. Very beautifully this is described in the verse, Bhayam Dityad Abhidivesha Tasyat. Very beautifully it is described that when we see things different from the Lord, not able to see how things are connected to the Lord, immediately we'll start fearing. Therefore, the great sadhus are able to see Lord in each and every living entity. They are not fearful of the snake around or tiger around, lion around. No, they are not fearful. We're fearful of cockroach also. Yes. Many times we have seen in the yatras. Recently, in one of the yatra, it happened that one Mataji came loudly shouting, "Ah!" And then I cannot shout like that. Yes. And immediately, me and the another yatra organizer, we came together and we saw and like we said, "What happenand?" He said, "Bro, chikkali andar." And the Mataji shouted as some lion is there inside. So fear. So fear is contaminating. Sex is contaminating in itself if it is not in accordance with Shastra. And especially in the stage of brahmacharya, if you're maintaining brahmacharya, any activity which is sexual will violate the principle of sex according to Shastra. Zero sex at the level of brahmacharis. Zero sex in the bachelor life. At the level of mind, at the level of speech, at the level of body. And the ones who are married, sex only for begetting kids. That's what is recommended in Shastra. Anything more than this that is mentioned in Shastra will be contaminating. And that impurity will not allow the person to keep the mind pure. And where is the question of rapid-tension? So in this way, these are the 4 things that Prabhupada is mentioning. And Prabhupada says, but somehow or other, if someone hears with rapid-tension from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Verdict of the Acharya. Very nice analysis. So the 4 instincts should be pure. Then the mind is pure. Then we can hear Bhagavatam class attentively. That does not mean that you're sitting in a Bhagavatam class and you say, anyways, 4 actions are not pure. So anyways, I cannot be attentive. So it's okay. No, not allowed. We should try our best. We should endeavor. We should endeavor at all levels to be pure. At all levels. Very important. So there are 3 stages of hearing which are mentioned in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, quoted by Baldev Vidyabhushan in Isa Upanishad 15 in the commentary. Shravanam, hearing. That's the first stage. And all of us, when we sit in a Bhagavatam class, this is the first thing that we do. We hear information. We jot down the information. That's Shravana. It's like putting food into the mouth. That's the first thing. That's the first stage of Shravanam. Second is Mananam. Manana means reflecting or recollecting. So you recollect the points from Bhagavatam class. So the initial hearing or Shravan is like putting the food in the mouth, and Manan is like chewing that food. Put in the mouth and you chew. That's called Manan or recollection. Third is Nididhyasana or applying in our day-to-day life what we have learned. It is like digesting the food. You digest the food. You'll see this very clearly. Those devotees who are able to give wonderful classes which penetrate the hearts of people. At least I have done this, experiment is not the right word, but something like experiment only. Where I have interviewed few devotees who give wonderful classes. And I would ask, so Prabhuji, how do you prepare classes? Please tell me. And one thing that I've heard multiple times from these speakers is that I contemplate on this subject, and before speaking, I try to apply that particular subject in my life. And therefore, when we hear those speakers, we will see it's not just information that is getting transferred, but there is something more than information. Because they have done Shravanam at all the levels. Where you hear, get information. Second, you chew on that information, that's called contemplation. And the third one is to apply that in your day-to-day life at whatever level you can apply. Therefore, when we sit in the class, the first thing that we get is information. And in the initial days, devotees will be enamored by information. It feels very nice. Oh, this is so nice. That is so nice. Liko. And it's good. I appreciate that. That's very nice. That's how a beginner should be. And then Manan or contemplation happens more nicely when you hear from a person who gives a lot of examples and this and that and makes us understand. Because what is needed is understanding next. Information I've got, but I need to understand that information better. So a speaker who has understood it, he can make the other people understand it very easily in a very simplified way. And our content realizations will come. So information, understanding, realization. So just by doing proper Shravanam, all the three stages, one can go through information, understanding, and realization. And when the devotee has the treasure of many realizations, and every now and then he gets a new realization, that devotee you will see will be very enthusiastic in executing devotional service. Very enthusiastic. So now, what are the practical ways of being attentive? Because till now, whatever we discussed is on the level of, on the subtle level. But on the physical level, what are the different arrangements that we should make so that we can hear a class attentively? First and foremost, we should take care of the externals around. What is the disturbing element? फिर भी सब पास में लेके बैठे हैं. Yes. Therefore, it's very nice, to jot down on the book. And if you feel that's very cumbersome and your hand pains, you can always have a laptop and you can type. Yes. But having a mobile and which rings every now and then is an agent of Maya. One rare opportunity to hear a physical class. Usme ton. And the devotee is distracted and is thinking, is this important or rare? Or this is important or rare? And the mind says, this. Go, take the call. बस फिर गया जो भी 1 घंटा है उसमें से 5-10 मिनट चला गया. Sometimes half an hour gone. Therefore, I become very furious, when, especially when brahmacharis, when they take the phone and go out. Therefore, we have a rule in brahmachari ashram that if you want to sit in a Bhagavatam class, your mobile phone should be away. Should be kept somewhere else. You cannot sit in a Bhagavatam class, with the mobile. Yes. What's happening? Oh, it is less? Take it, 10%. So this is the first thing. Keep all the disturbing elements away. Yes. See, all the management that we do in ISKCON is for this one thing, so that devotees are able to do nice devotional service. So all the managers should have this in the mind, that all the management that we are doing is to give a platform where devotees can sit together and hear Krishna Katha, render nice devotional service. Therefore, it's very important to have a very quiet place without any disturbance to give Bhagavatam class or to hear Bhagavatam. Very important. Therefore, many times devotees announce, keep your mobiles on silent. And after 5 minutes, still some mobile will ring. And unfortunately, sometimes when parents get their small kids, the kids express their respect by crying. Whichever point they're like, and it goes on. And all the devotees will look at that child who's crying. Speaker is trying his best to keep the attention, but all the attention goes there. Yes. So therefore, it is recommended for those grahasthas, if you have small kids, you have to hear online. Don't sit in a Bhagavatam class physically. And don't consider that to be a curse to have a small child. Yes. It's a service. It's a service to bring the child up in Krishna consciousness. That's a service. So do that service properly. ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए कि बच्चा रो रहा है, क्लास चल रहा है, सॉर्ट करके बजा. Jump! I want to hear the class. Jump! Or take the child, throw it outside the balcony. So one has to be practical. Obviously, small kids will cry. What can be done? Therefore, anytime any parent sit with a small kid, that too in front, I request them, please go behind at the door and sit. Don't sit here. And it's very nice. I have seen small kids are very cute anyways. The small kids will be there doing, making various faces and this and that. All the other devotees around. Either Bhagavatam speaker is crying at the pitch of his voice. See, when you sit on the Vyasasana, you can see everything that is happening around. And very important, don't sleep in the class. If you feel sleepy, then go and wash your face. If you feel really very sleepy, even after washing face, go and stand behind. Give punishment to yourself. That's how you can be attentive. There are some speakers very merciful. They'll say, go stand there. Good, they don't say kneel down. So that's a help, which devotees get, from the senior devotees. Therefore, it's very important. And the most practical way to be awake throughout the class and to get the maximum benefit is to make notes. And you should know the art of making notes. See, we should jot down all the important points and various instructions that we're getting from the class. And then those points also you should be able to categorize in two categories. One is personal application. So you should note down, okay, these are for my personal application. So I should implement this. Tell me some of the personal application points that we learned today. Okay, stand if you're feeling sleepy. Okay. And? Okay, should sit straight. जैसे ही मैंने बोला सब yes. And? Huh? Okay, make notes. Okay. Keep mobile phones away. Mobile is ringing. Keep mobile phone away. Okay. And you're typing on mobile. Very nice. And contemplate. So I should contemplate. So you got the point? What do you mean by personal application? See, always remember, even if you know the point, even if it's something that is very trivial, but if you feel it's a personal application, you should make a note of it. At least I do that for myself. Even if I know it, I've spoken it 100 times in my classes, still I'll also make a note when I'm sitting in a class. Because you never know that one note which I have called as personal application. So you should categorize it as personal application. And second one is preaching application. So those points will help us when we are preaching to others. Tell me some of the preaching application points. Okay, so contemplation can also be a preaching point.
When we are speaking to the newcomers, then we should try our best to speak in such a way that we can hold them.
Yeah. So preaching application was about the difference between the two classes that we saw today. Yes. So we should know how to speak to the newcomers and how to hold them in the realm of Krishna consciousness.
Speaking to the devotees that are strong philosophies like Vivekananda Acharya.
Yes. So when you're giving a class, when you're preaching to devotees, it should be philosophy as it is. And all the philosophy is strong philosophy. And what I should speak, by which devotees will be helped to increase the desire, intensify the desire to advance in bhakti. And
shlokas in the
yes, so shloka should be quoted.
What I should not speak in
Yes, what I shouldn't speak in a Bhagavatam class. Don't sing a song. Don't tell some titles of some movies. Try to apply, so we apply ourselves, that's personal application. At the same time, there's a preaching application where you can tell people that yes, we have to apply these points. And at the same time, we can also see that how Srila Prabhupada did that in his own life. We can make that note as well. That's called Prabhupada's mode and mission. So that's the third category called Prabhupada's mode and mission. You can note down that as well. Understand, still hear it attentively. Those two lines itself will make you attentive. So something like that, Prabhupada's mode and mission. And those lines from the purport which are very amazing and strong. So we can note down that as given by Prabhupada. So in this way, when we make notes, it's a very active endeavor. And when you're making this active endeavor, when you're doing this actively, you'll see the mind is engaged, you're hearing attentively, you're benefited to the core. Therefore, one thing that all of us can do as devotees is, we should try our best to keep ourselves attentive in the Bhagavatam class, understanding that this is the only way by which I can be saved. And those devotees who are attentive in the Bhagavatam class, or any class for that matter, at least this is my personal observation, they advance very fast in Krishna consciousness. And those devotees, in 1 hour, in 60 minutes, when they doze off 100 times, they are the ones, kitna bhi kuch bhi kar lo, it's very difficult for them to advance. Very difficult. Therefore, attentive hearing is very, very important. And Narada Muni is saying, oh Vyasadeva, you know what? I heard it attentively. And I had the mercy of these Bhakti Vedantas. And since I heard the class attentively, what happened? My taste for hearing Krishna Katha increased at every step. So if you really want to get taste for hearing Krishna Katha, we have to hear it respectfully. And the element of respect that we discussed today is attentively hearing the class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, any questions?
We were proper class. So, what should we add more?
See, one thing that I've seen in Prabhupada's class is, I don't think there was a concept of newcomers for Prabhupada. I don't see that. No, he's going for the first time to a place, and there, he's saying, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. And all people there, they're doing this every day. So there is nothing called as newcomers when it comes to hear Srila Prabhupada's class. I've seen when Prabhupada is talking to scientists also, he's speaking core philosophy. He's not speaking anything less than core philosophy. So Prabhupada's class are devoted.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. How to understand Bhagavad Gita and how to read sloka part by part or something else?
See, whenever you read Shastra and you want to do it for advancing in bhakti, you should do cover to cover. Start from the first page and go on reading. Don't jump. That's first. Second is, if you want to learn how to recite shlokas, I've made the app. You can hear the shloka there. Yes. And recite. So in our new bhakta training, so every day morning at 4:15, we sit for shloka memorization. So 4:15 morning, 4:15 to 4:30. At least how many? 15-20 times we recite some shloka? Yes, around that. So just 15-20 times and the shloka is memorized for some people. Yeah, something like that we can do.
At the time of Prabhupada, he was mentioning that there was nothing like new commerce class, so that is probably new concept. So why do devotees now try to approach the parts to preach to devotees? Like,
See, one is, I got your question. So Prabhu's question is, why now newcomers class? Prabhupada didn't have newcomers class. See, one is purity of Prabhupada himself. Yes. Just by taking darshan of Senapati Bhakta of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, people were getting purified at the first go. And second thing is, Prabhupada at that time, that was the emergency mode that was going on. He had very less time and he had to give a lot. So he didn't mind speaking. And Prabhupada's mood was, this is what it is, you want to stay back, you stay. That was the mood. Stay back nahi tha, stay, you want to join, you join. There's nothing called as devotee outside the temple. As the times are changing, and when we are not that pure, and also our now is not the emergency mode of doing something. Now we have come to a normal mode. So now it's very important to help people go step by step, because now people have become more egoistic, they're not very receptive. So first we make them receptive and then give the dose of Krishna consciousness. If they're not receptive, then what's the point? But still, even now, there are some speakers whom I know, they are direct preachers only, even now. In the first class itself, they will tell everything of Krishna consciousness. That also works to a certain extent, but not to a very great extent. Because there are many intellectuals who might not buy in your idea. They consider it as your idea. Well, actually, it's our philosophy, it's not our idea. But with time, when they gain trust in us, they'll be able to accept what we are speaking. Therefore, now even you see in the newcomers class, at least here what we are doing, we don't have it completely new. We have Bhagavad Gita, we have Bhagavatam. And we speak what they can accept immediately. And that which is very difficult for them to accept, we don't speak. We don't say Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead at the first go, because there are many who might get bewildered. For them, it doesn't matter who is God actually at the first go. But when you say Krishna, Supreme Personality, suddenly they feel, oh, why is he saying like this, like that? Arey Baba, you didn't have any idea of what is God, who is God. I'm telling you who you're not able to accept because of their what to say, sinful background, yes, of the past. Therefore, the newcomers class is like you hold people and you give dump sukruti on them, and then with time they are eligible now to accept Krishna Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. So these are some of the points which I can think of. Why? But now we also want the mass also to be present. We want that goodwill to be built in the entire society, because now we are no more a small organization. It's a very big organization. It's all that matters. But only newcomers class is a problem. No doubt about it.
It's more like a comment and also clarifying. Like if we see all the Sanakari rishis who heard Bhagavatam and especially Sutta Goswami who had elevated the Narayana also, like they might not have made notes etc. They would have just read only. But we have to make notes like clarify, because we are not so attentive or pure in mind. So note making will help us become.
They were pure at mind, and therefore they were rapt attentive. And also one thing that we see is they were Shrutidhara. Shrutidharas. How many dhar sakte? We cannot hold anything. Very difficult, you see. Very difficult. There are some devotees, I heard this, that they are asked to do some translation, English to Hindi or something like that. They'll hear the entire class, and at the end of the class, they'll translate for another 45 minutes, 1 hour. There are some devotees like that also. So, Shrutidhar. If you're pure in your actions, your mind is pure, you can do that. Possible. We know how pure we are. At least I know how pure I am, so I need notes. I make elaborate notes.
Actually, if like you have discussed about hearing attentively, so if I wanted to suppose make my relative, some relative hear attentively also because they're elder to us. So how to develop that taste for hearing, somewhat taste of hearing pure Krishna Katha or Bhagavatam.
See, one thing all of us should know is we cannot preach at home. Success rate is almost zero. So don't think of preaching at home. So I always tell the husbands, don't preach to your wife, and wives, don't preach to your husband. Kids, don't preach to your parents, and parents, don't preach to kids. So ask some third person to preach. Yes. I had gone to some place, and he was a very senior brahmachari. And he was asking me, bro, you speak. I said, bro, how can I speak? You are there, how can I speak? Arey, you don't understand. These people never accept what I am saying. They'll accept what you will say. You speak. He made me sit, and but that's a fact. That's a fact. वो घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. Yes. So something like that. I was invited to some place, and I told my mother that I'm going to this place. तुझे क्यों बुला रहे वो लोग? मैंने बोला ऐसे ही बुला रहे. What will I tell her? So therefore, we cannot preach to family members. Success rate is almost zero. Very few people are very successful. Therefore, what we should do is we should get some preacher nearby, and we should say, get them to the realm of Krishna consciousness. They will do the needful. So, as if you want your relatives to be devotees, just do two things. Make Sukruti, they will continue. If they don't have, nothing can be done. Better luck next time, next life. Something like that.
Sometimes something happens like during class, when we hear some word or hear some phrase, so that phrase is depend on rest of the class. So we don't understand that phrase or that highly vocabulary words. So should we interrupt the presenter or should we continue?
At least in a Bhagavatam class, the speaker will not entertain in the middle of the class, because Prabhupada has set up this entire style of the Bhagavatam class, where after the class only you can ask questions. But if it's a seminar, then surely we can ask things. And we can always ask the devotee who's sitting beside, if he's a senior devotee. Yeah, you can always ask. But one thing I've seen is you just hang around in ISKCON for a few years, you will get to know all jargons. You need not be attentive, just hang around. You'll understand all the different technical words which are there in Shastra. Yeah. Anything else?
How to be pure in defense?
How to be pure in defense. See, one thing is, it's not defense, it's about fear. Yeah, for newcomers, we present it as defense. So when it comes to any sort of fear, it's contaminating. Therefore, more we develop our surrender towards the Lord, because one of the symptoms of surrender is Rakshashitite Vishwasaha. So that faith on all small things of this world, it means there's no faith in the Lord, or very less faith. Very less faith. So how to develop that faith? Associate with such devotees who are extremely fearless. Extremely fearless. And how do you associate with devotees? Hear from them attentively. If not fully attentive, at least something. One-to-one conversation, we cannot be sleepy and all that. One-to-one conversation, we are always attentive. So always have one-to-one conversation with such devotees. See, one thing which I would say is you all should learn the art of speaking to senior devotees and ask the right questions. Yes, so that you understand the intricacies and various practices that they are themselves doing. It is when I sit with some senior devotees, I'll ask that, so Prabhuji, in the free time, what do you do? And they'll say, Arey bhai, free time kahan hai? So how do you keep yourself so engaged? And they'll list down so many things. And there will be so many things for me to learn. Then I asked, Prabhuji, you are preparing these classes. How wonderfully you prepared the last class. How did you get this point? And then the devotee was saying, I contemplated on this point, and then I was linking like this, like this, like. Then he told me the entire, the way he got that point, from which shloka and which purport and all that. So we get to learn all that from senior devotees. And sometimes, some senior devotees are very close to me. I'll ask them that, Prabhuji, what prayers do you offer? And then the essence senior devotees is simple. They'll tell also. See, I'm struggling with so and so things, so I'm planning. So I offer this prayer every day, and it gives me a lot of strength. How did you manage when you joined Brahmachari Ashram and your parents came to take you? Yes, and then the entire Brahmachari joining Leela will start, and that will be taken care. Parents will be taken care. Everyone is taken care. Something like that. So basically, we should ask the right questions to the right people, and just by their speech of confidence and faith, we'll also get the same. And but obvious, if your chanting is attentive, your Bhagavatam reading and other things are proper, you're endeavoring nicely, Krishna will shower mercy, because faith is given. So Krishna will give that faith. So that's a gift. Yeah? Then we'll be free from the contamination of fear. At least the contamination will go down. If not completely, at least to a great extent. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. निकाल लिया हाँ ठीक
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class. I got a lot of clarity from this particular class. As you mentioned, the 3 stages of hearing: Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. So, Prabhu very nicely explaining how those devotees who are able to do these 3 things, their classes will be very, very effective. And we can see the personal example here with Prabhuji. Prabhuji is personally, so that's why whenever we get Prabhuji's class, it's really practical and also applicable, and it intensifies our desire to attain Krishna. So let's thank Prabhuji for this wonderful class by all the chanting of Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Today our Adarsh Bo is shifting to Kolkata. So he has been there here serving in this place. For how long now? One and a half, 3 years. 2.5 years, and he has become one of the members in this family. Very, very dear to my heart as well. So many wonderful services he has rendered, very, very responsibly. He has been one of my Mridanga player who will come with me to different places. And when I instructed him that you should shift to Antardweep base, he just shifted. And from there, I told him, shift to Panatur. He just shifted. So this is the sign of a missionary. I see a missionary in him, no doubt. And I see this very nice quality of he hearing attentively in the class. Surely we'll miss him, and I'm sure he'll also miss us. But then he's not going to Kolkata to earn his livelihood. He's going for a mission. Therefore, I'm very pleased. So I think that is not very much appreciated.